Is it about time the Chiefs do something with their running back room? The Chiefs have an interesting situation ahead of them, and we're going to talk about it. What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Good morning, good morning. It is Monday, May the freaking 12th. Let's go. We're in the dead of the offseason. This might be the slowest week of football news I've ever seen in my entire life, by the way. But here we are. We have a little bit to talk about. Hope you guys are doing well. I know it's been a minute. We haven't put out as much content in the last week. Mike's putting the finishing touches on his house. He's been working pretty hard on the walls and flooring and everything he had to rip out and redo because of the flood. So he's been pretty focused on that this week. And then, of course, I've done a little bit of work with the shorts and a video, but haven't popped in live on anybody for a while. So figured I would do that this morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Appreciate you joining me. If you don't mind, hit that like button. Help get out to more people. I'd appreciate that. But good to see everybody. I just wanted to talk a little bit today about the running back room. I noticed that's kind of a topic of discussion on X and elsewhere amongst Chiefs Kingdom. I think people like the way this roster has shaped up in the offseason. I think people like the draft pretty well. But one thing that people did not like about the draft was the lack of an explosive running back. A lot of people wanted to see that second round, third round running back, somebody they thought could come and make a difference. We got another seventh rounder. We got Brashard Smith, which I like him. I think he's going to be good. I think it'll be good for the Chiefs, but I definitely see where some people are coming from on this. But either way, let's talk about it just a little bit. I think it was KCSN. Yes, they put out this graphic. It's the running backs for the Kansas City Chiefs right now. This is what they got. They have Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, Carson Steele, Brashard Smith, and Keontae Ingram. And you can see some of the people, you guys know some of these people, some of them you may not. But Matt Lane had the little disappointed emoji about it. And then you had Joe D here with the sick face. People were not reacting well to our running back room. Tucker Franklin from KCSN with the Larry David gif, looking pretty disappointed. And then we had this guy who brought up something that everyone's been talking about. Vince here says, thumbs down, go sign Chubb. So this has been a topic of discussion. Nick Chubb. Yes, that Nick Chubb, the same one that's blew out his knee 15 times, and I'm not even sure he can walk at this point after I saw that knee injury a couple years ago. Also broke his foot maybe or his ankle. Been a lot of stuff going on with Nick Chubb. But yeah, even Sportskeeda Pro Football put on X, could Nick Chubb be the missing piece for the Chiefs Super Bowl puzzle? So I think the Chiefs have a pretty good Super Bowl puzzle put together already. They've been to the last three, but could Nick Chubb be a guy that could come in and help us get to a fourth in a row? That's a discussion to have. I'd like to know what you guys think about Nick Chubb in the chat. Patrick Mahomes, to my knowledge, has never had a 1,000-yard rusher on his team throughout all of this, the entire run. So a lot of people just want to see something, more consistent and more explosive, just something that can help in the run game. Now, we do have Isaiah Pacheco back this year. Last year, he was coming off that injury, and I feel like he wasn't, I don't know if he was rushed back, but I don't think he was 100% either. So I think he was still recovering and trying to do the best he could there. Kareem Hunt, we got a lot out of Kareem Hunt last year, honestly, more than I thought we were going to get out of a guy that wasn't even signed to a team, few weeks into the season or midway through the season, whenever we picked him up. But Pacheco's probably going to be our guy this year. I think that the Chiefs are okay with that. He is on a contract year, so maybe they're hoping to get the best out of him this year on that contract year. But they also went and picked up Elijah Mitchell, who is known to be injury prone, but he's also a pretty explosive back if he's healthy. And then they drafted Brashard Smith, in the 7th round, who I think is a very good option for the Chiefs. Kind of that receiving back. He's got a lot of speed, got big playability and stuff like that. So pretty excited to see what he can do. Obviously, Keontae Ingram's probably going to be a practice squad guy, and Carson Steele the same. But I get why people want to see something different with the running back room. I understand it. But is Nick Chubb the answer? Like that's my question here. So a lot of people bring up the Nick Chubb thing. So I figure we talk about that today. Is Nick Chubb the missing piece for the Chiefs Super Bowl puzzle, according to Sportskeeda? Let's take a look at Nick Chubb's stats, guys. This is Nick Chubb throughout his career. I mean, you notice in 2024, 2023, injured. Which is the name of the game with Nick Chubb lately, right? But if you go back before 2023, you might as well say every season that he's been in the NFL up until that point, he had 1,000 yards. I mean, 996 is rookie season, but let's just say 1,000. 1,525 yards in 2022. This guy gets it done, but he's definitely a volume carrier. You see 302 attempts in 2022. So you got to put the ball in his hand a lot, and Nick Chubb is very injury prone. We've seen that over his career. I'd be interested to see what all injuries Nick Chubb has had his entire career. Didn't do my homework on that one, but we can look it up real quick and kind of take a look at that. But I don't know if Nick Chubb's the answer. I don't know if you bring in a guy that is literally been riddled with injuries for the last 2, almost 3 years. It's pretty crazy to even think about, but you see the production. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I did find this, on a quick Google search. Let me see if I can get it up here. Boom. Hope you guys can see that. I'll try to zoom it in, maybe. We'll see if that works. We'll go in a couple. All right. So here's Nick Chubb's injury guide. He's very high risk, is what it says. Chance of injury in 2025 is 74.1% that he misses at least 2 quarters of football. So 74.1%. So 3 out of 4. Chance of injury per game, 7.6%. Projected games missed in 2025 is 3. And his durability is a 2.60. You can see here the major injuries that he's had. Number 1 was paddle foot fracture in 2024. That was in December of 2024. That gruesome knee injury we all saw in September of 2023. And then back before that, he actually had 2 MCL tears. Well, one's a sprain, one's a tear. That was in October of 2020 and 2015. You look at the calf strain in 2021, and then he had HS rib sprain or an unspecified injury in 2022. So the major thing with him is this knee right here. And we all saw that. That was one of the nastiest injuries I think we've ever seen. And it was just downright disgusting. So he's coming back off that. He breaks the foot. There's a lot going on there, right? So I don't know if Nick Chubb's necessarily the answer or not. I do like the production when he's healthy. And if you looked at the injury risk factor, is 74.1% chance he'll miss at least 2 quarters. Okay, that sounds really high. But, I mean, 2 quarters, if that's what we're going by, I feel like everyone has a pretty high chance of missing 2 quarters in an NFL season. Now, it says he's projected to miss 3 games. Okay, so is it worth having a guy who could potentially put up 1,000 to 1,500 yards in a season if he's also at risk of missing, say, 3 games? I think that's definitely something to think about. I mean, 3 games, you still have Isaiah Pacheco, you still have Kareem Hunt. I don't know if that's a huge deal. But it looks like lately Nick Chubb, when he gets hurt, he gets freaking hurt. Like, it's not just a 3-game thing or, a 4-game thing. It's in the season, damn near end his career type injuries. So just a super high risk there. And a couple more things to look at real quick, and I'm going to get to the chat, is Just kind of a summary here. It says Nick Chubb's market value is projected at 1 year, $3.26 million contract. This estimate is based on his performance, recent injuries, and his status as a free agent, according to SpotRack. Elaboration: free agency. Chubb is currently a free agent after his contract with the Cleveland Browns expired. Injuries: Chubb has recently recovered from a serious knee injury that required multiple surgeries and sidelined him for over 13 months. He also suffered a broken foot in 2024. SpotRack's projections suggest a one-year deal around $3.3 million is a reasonable expectation for Chubb, given his age, recent injuries, and his status as a free agent. And other factors, his history with the Browns, including his status as one of their all-time leading rushers, could also influence his market value. So about $3 million is what you're looking at to get Nick Chubb on a one-year deal, which is all you're going to want to do with Nick Chubb anyway, with all that injury risk and stuff like that. You try to get him for 1 year and see what you can get out of him, right? So you'd be looking at about $3 million. And what does that mean for the Chiefs? Right now, according to SpotRack, they have about $11 million in team cap space at the moment. About $11 million. Now, I don't think they've signed all the rookies yet, so I don't know if that's all factored in or what. That's just the latest from SpotRack there, $11 million. So do you use $3 million of that on a Nick Chubb? I mean, that's definitely something to discuss, something to think about. I'm sure that's something that they're talking about anyway. I mean, I think Brett Veach kind of does his homework on each free agent or anyone he thinks could help the Chiefs out. I don't know if that's the way they want to go. I don't know if they're that worried about the running back room whatsoever. I mean, they didn't act like it in the draft, so I think this one here, to me, is pretty unlikely. Now, could it happen? Absolutely. You never know. I mean, Brett Veach has done crazier things, but I don't expect to see that anytime soon. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the chat what you guys think. Do you think it's worth the risk for $3 million for a one-year contract to see if we can get someone that comes in and can rush 1,000 to 1,500 yards in a season? But also consider that he has to have those carries. He had to have 300 plus carries in that season to get 1,500 yards. Is he going to be able to get that many carries in Andy Reid's offense? We don't know. And is Andy not running the ball because he's Andy Reid and he just doesn't like to? Or is Andy Reid not running the ball because he's not confident in the guys that he has in the backfield? Let's discuss it in the chat. I want to see what you guys have to say. Speaking of, let me get to, we got a freaking 20 bomb from Slow But Sure. It says, hoping all's well in the ACU universe. Can't wait for the offseason to be over so we can get back to the best part of the year. I was just talking about that the other day. I was like, man, this year's flying by. It's kind of crazy to think we're almost halfway through this year because I feel like we just opened Christmas presents, like literally not too long ago. And we're already halfway through this year. I think it's a part of getting old. Everything just speeds up. Time speeds up. But we're halfway through the year, and we're only one season. So 2.5, 3 months away from the best time of the freaking year. Fall, football, and then the holidays and everything. Like that's my jam. That's what I like. So I'm right there with you, Slow But Sure. Can't wait for the offseason to be over. We just got this couple, maybe 3 hot months to go. Not ready for this heat, but it's pretty damn muggy and hot in Kentucky. And I know it can in Kansas City as well. So appreciate the 20, by the way. Thanks for the support, brother. And then our boy Shane with the 5 bombs says, what's up? Excited for the video. Appreciate you, my man. Yeah, just trying to do what I could this week. Mike's kind of our full-time guy, right? So there's 2 of us. Mike's the one that's full-time on this thing. I still work a job. I have the family and everything else. But Mike's been pretty busy. He's been wrapped up in trying to get his house restored and ready to go. So I kind of tried to put out what I could. I did a lot of short content, did the one video. Now I'm doing the live stream today. But hopefully we can get back to normal soon. I think maybe by... maybe the next couple of days he ought to be done with that. But he's been pretty much working all day, every day to try to get that done so we can get back in the swing of things. But appreciate you guys, and appreciate you guys watching all the shorts I put out and the video I put out. They did pretty well, so I appreciate that. But yeah, let's take a look in the chat real quick. A lot of people talking here. about Nick Chubb, and I want to know what you guys think about if he's worth the risk or not. Roland says we don't need him. We don't run the ball enough for him to be effective, and Pacheco is still the man in my eyes. So even when we were talking about the draft, and we did a lot of draft coverage this season, we were talking about could the Chiefs take a stab at like a Travion Henderson or a running back that maybe would fit a little better into Andy's scheme than, say, an Isaiah Pacheco. And we thought it was a possibility, but we thought it was a long shot as well. And I guess they just really don't see the need to put that much draft capital or anything like that into a running back. They just haven't in a long time. I don't know if it's Clyde PTSD or what. I don't know. It could be that. But I guess besides Clyde, I mean, before him, you had Kareem Hunt, who they invested a third-round pick in. But other than that, it's just been seventh-rounders, UDFAs, random one-year signings here and there. And I think that's just what they're going to stick with. We kind of had the discussion, like, I feel like a lot of the time when we were talking about these guys in the draft, or if the Chiefs would take a running back, it was always like not knocking Pacheco, but and that became like a line that I caught myself saying, and I would hear other people saying, other people in the space, other content creators, other people on X, other Chiefs fans, like not a knock on Pacheco, like Pacheco, but he lacks field vision. He's not this, he's not that, and it almost seemed like Pacheco became everybody's punching bag inadvertently, even though he's done a pretty damn good job as a Chief. And I think that maybe this season could be big for him. He can get back, be 100% healthy coming off the injury from last year. And also he's on his contract year. So maybe he'll be able to be featured a little bit more and maybe he can show out a little bit. I love Isaiah Pacheco. I love what he has to offer. I do think he has a couple of drawbacks or things that he could get better at. Which is like field vision. He doesn't have the best field vision. We see a lot of Pacheco running into the back of his blocks or maybe trying to bounce it outside when he shouldn't. Just little things like that. But you don't see a whole lot of huge explosive plays from him either, even with his speed. I think one of the biggest plays we've seen from him was probably like a 40-yard rush, 30-yard rush, something like that. They don't utilize him very much out of the backfield as far as a receiver. His pass protection is okay. It's not bad, but it's not great either. So I think there's a lot that he could still get better at. But we're also talking about a guy that was a 7th-round draft pick. So I think what we have been able to get from Isaiah Pacheco and what he offers as far as energy, heart, and just like all that, like it's almost irreplaceable as far as that goes. He definitely brings a spark. But I get the whole thing, like, hey, let's find a running back that can get out and just be absolutely explosive, a game changer, what have you. I just don't know if the Chiefs really care about that, to be quite honest about it. I think a lot of people thought like Travion Henderson or a person like that could be something that Andy Reid would utilize more when they look back at his history with like Westbrook and some guys like that, Shady McCoy, just, the smaller guys that he did use a lot. But I don't know if that's necessarily why that it was that way, if there's like a stereotypical Andy Reid running back or not. I mean, it's all just speculation, right? But a lot of people's been talking about it, so I figured we'd talk about it. Lone Wolf here says Chiefs had an opportunity to draft Caleb Johnson. Absolute beast. So Caleb Johnson's a bigger guy, reminds me more of like I'm not trying to compare him to Derrick Henry, but he reminds me more of that type of guy. He's a bigger guy. The more you give him the ball, the later it gets in the game, the more damage he can do. Like he's going to wear other teams down, and he's going to get his, and he can last the full 4 quarters and really wear a team down. You had Damian Martinez, who I think everyone thought, towards the end of the draft there, with him falling, the Chiefs' interest in him and what he has to offer, I thought for sure they were going to pull the trigger on Damian Martinez there, but they ended up going with Brashard Smith in the 7th round after Damian Martinez was drafted. Quinshon Judkins, they had an opportunity to get him, passed on him as well. But yeah, they had an opportunity to get a lot of these guys and just passed on them. So I really just don't think that that's in the cards for the Chiefs. I think they like what they have. Now, I do think it's something to think about going forward, though, because we don't have, other than Brashard Smith on his rookie contract, I think everybody else has one year left on their contract. Um, Now, Carson Steele, I mean, he's probably got a couple years left on his, but I honestly think Carson Steele's probably going to be on the practice squad this year. I mean, it's early to say that. He made the 53 last year, but I don't know. I don't think he really did exactly what they wanted him to do. His pass protection was lacking big time. He had trouble holding on to the football. And I just don't think he was exactly what they thought. Would they use him as a fullback? I don't think so. I don't think they would even consider that after they saw, him missing blocking assignments and stuff like that on a regular. I don't know if that's a thing. I mean, it could be, but we'll see. But I think pretty much what we're looking at going into the season here is going to be Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, and probably Brashard Smith, if I had to guess. They normally try to take 4. I think that seems fair. Hopefully Smith can come in and kind of do some things that Jarrett McKinnon did to help this offense out. So really excited to see that. Just love the fact he's a converted wide receiver. Just seamlessly can catch the football out of the backfield, explosive, fast. I think Andy Reid can have some fun with him. So it'll be interesting to see how much he gets utilized in his rookie season, and what Andy decides to do with him. Like Julia says, she thinks that he's going to be a surprise. I think he could be a good surprise. It just really depends on how they decide to utilize them, right? Like how often will they use them? Because I feel like there's a lot of players in Andy Reid's teams, especially over the last few years with Mahomes and everybody. Like they could be a weapon, like they could be, but they're just not used, or they don't cash in on their opportunities they get early, so they're kind of pushed to the wayside. I mean, Sky Moore, God love him, he blew so many opportunities. But at the same time, I do feel like he has a skill set that maybe if he was in a different team, a fresh start, a different kind of offense, he might be okay. I don't think he'd be groundbreaking, but I think he could be a serviceable NFL wide receiver. It's just he blew his chances here, and they just didn't even care to, give him more opportunities. And I think that happens a lot with a lot of different players. You think they're going to use them more, and they don't. So it really just all kind of depends on what Reid and the coaching staff want to do, and we'll see how they use Brashard Smith. I think it's a chance that it could be a pretty fun pick for the Chiefs. They're not, outside of using a 7th round draft pick. I mean, we saw that was Isaiah Pacheco. He got to start his rookie season. By the end of the rookie season, he was already starting. So they will use them if they feel like they need to. Let's see here. Talk Tidy says, say Chubb was on the team and in the best shape of his life, would Andy actually use him? And that kind of goes into what I was talking about, how Andy utilizes these players. Now, we kind of had the discussion, do you think, like, if Andy has a running back that he can't ignore, if you have somebody like a Nick Chubb in the backfield who's healthy, if you were to have somebody like a Derrick Henry, or just any running back you can think of that gets that kind of usage or gets that many carries, and they cash in and they've always produced, is that something that Andy Reid can ignore? Can you go through a quarter and almost a second quarter without giving the ball to one of these guys in the Super Bowl? Can you do that? Like, I don't know. I mean, if anybody can, Andy can. He will abandon a run in a heartbeat. But I don't know. I also think if you have a guy that demands the football, demands it because he, not just saying him, he himself is demanding the football like a prima donna, but his production demands that you give him the football. Maybe it does open up more for the run game. And Nick Chubb, I think if he's healthy, everyone knows that he's an absolute monster. I mean, 300 carries for 1,500 freaking yards in 2023, I think it was, is just insane. So I think if he's on the team and he's healthy, I think it's definitely something like, you're going to run the football, obviously. Even Andy will run the football a little bit. So if you do have a healthy Nick Chubb, he gets the football and he's producing, then I mean, obviously you're going to go back to a little bit, and you're going to go back to a little bit more. So I definitely think there's something to that. That if they had someone more consistent, more explosive, that maybe they would use them a little bit more than say they would an Isaiah Pacheco, who by all means is a little bit hit or miss. I mean, he's going to get the job done for what Andy Reid wants to do, but he's never going to just blow the top off of everything. Later, Richie, good to see you, bud. I can't remember if it was Richie that said that he was in the ER with his wife, maybe, or it could have been somebody else. But if it's you, Richie, hope everything's okay, and we're thinking about you, bud. Icoff says, I've been a Pacheco skeptic the last 2 seasons. Injury, sure, but I haven't seen the raw talent like Kareem's early days, Jamal, etc. There's definitely a gap there. And, I mean, you're talking about a 7th-round draft pick to Jamal Charles or Kareem Hunt. There's definitely a gap in I guess, if you want to say raw talent or however you want to label that. But there's definitely a gap there. Pacheco can do a lot of things for you. And like I said, he brings the energy, he brings all that, runs hard. But every one of us have seen over the last few years, he don't have the best field vision. And I don't know if that's something you necessarily can learn. Sometimes I feel like some of that's just natural, right? And I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing that he continues to get better at or not. I feel like he did kind of, right before his injury, he was a little more patient than he usually was. But I still seen him running to the backs of his offensive linemen and things like that. Once again, not knocking Pacheco, I think he's done an excellent job for the Chiefs since he got drafted. 7th-round draft pick, you couldn't ask for much more than what you've been able to get out of Isaiah Pacheco. So, not knocking him, but should he be a number 1 feature back in an offense? That's definitely something to discuss. Once again, just want to thank you guys for being here this morning. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you haven't already. It's good to see everybody in here. Be talking some Chiefs football. It's been a little bit since we've had a live stream. So, decided to pop on this morning. Hopefully, you guys are having a good time. Just talking Chiefs football. It is the depth of hell off season right now. Like, nothing's going on. It's funny because obviously I've been pretty busy all throughout the week, but I'll just like pop on X or something and just kind of look and see what's going on. And there just hasn't been anything going on. I mean, anybody that's normally talking Chiefs football is talking, Kansas City Royals. They're talking something random, like, whatever the hot topic is at the moment. Nothing really Chiefs related. I mean, we saw the guys at like the race the other day, some little things like that, but nothing crazy to talk about. But I did see a lot of discussion about the running back room and Nick Chubb. So I figured that was something that we could have a little bit of a discussion about. I noticed a lot of people are way out on Nick Chubb. Scott says, hell, not a Nick Chubb. I think a lot of people are going to think that with the injury concern. And then if you're looking at $3 million for the 1-year contract and they have roughly $11 million cap space, they haven't signed all the rookies yet, I don't think. I don't know if that's something they'd want to do. I feel like they'd almost have to get them for cheaper than that to want to take that risk. And then once again, does he even fit into the offense? I'm sure they could figure a way out. I'm sure Andy could figure out how to utilize a guy like that, but he could also figure out how to underutilize a guy like that as well. So if you think about Andy only running the football, say 10 to 15 times a game on average, like, does it matter if you have a Nick Chubb? I don't know, because he's definitely a volume carrier type guy. He can be explosive, but I think, he does his best work when he gets a lot of carries. I mean, like I said, his biggest year was 1,500 yards in 2023 at over 300 carries. And Andy Reid having a running back with that many carries is probably pretty highly unlikely. So it is what it is. But yeah, nothing else is really going on in Chiefs Kingdom. Nothing crazy. Pretty excited about this upcoming season. I like the way the roster's shaping up. I'm excited to see Rashee Rice back at it. Hopefully, gets back from that injury seamlessly and picks up where he left off last year because he was killing it. And, Mahomes decided to lose his mind and throw an interception, then injure his best wide receiver on the same play. Pretty wild. But it'll be exciting to see him and Xavier Worthy working together. Worthy towards the end of the season kind of broke out a little bit. Like, I think he was starting to get comfortable with things. And Patrick Mahomes has talked about giving those guys more opportunities, quit, kind of respecting defenses too much, take more shots. And I think that we will see that this season. And then, of course, you still have Hollywood Brown back on the 1-year contract. And then we drafted Jalen Royals, which is also going to be a fun one to see how they use him. Because, he's essentially another Rashee Rice. At his best, a lot of people saw like some Jamar Chase in his game, which is, it's hard to put that kind of comparison on somebody considering what Jamar Chase has been able to do over the last couple seasons with some crazy numbers. But you can see shades of his game, in Jalen Royals. So that's going to be exciting too. I just think overall this offense this season has an opportunity to be a little more electric than they've been. I think over the last couple of years it's been pretty stagnant. And they got to find a way to get out of that. Whether it's the play calling, which a lot of times I think it is, whether it's Mahomes being in his head too much. He literally said he had a bad year. He was respecting defenses too much. He wasn't throwing the football. He's second guessing too much stuff. And I think we all saw that too. So maybe they can get him out of his head a little bit. They got some more weapons on offense. Now, running game would go a long way in helping that happen. And I think that's why a lot of you were on the draft a running back high train, get somebody that can come in and be a feature back, be explosive, and be a game changer. And it's like, I love Isaiah Pacheco, but is that somebody that a defensive coordinator has to strongly consider in his game plan? Is our running back room something that's going to put any type, even the smallest bit of fear in a defensive coordinator? And I would lean towards no. If you see what we got, I don't think that they even really care about that, especially considering they're getting ready to go up against the Andy Reid team and the way he runs his offenses. I don't know if they have to respect the running game too much at all. And you notice that is one reason why, other than the Chiefs just not showing up to the Super Bowl, that had to be their worst day ever. But other than that, the Eagles defense did not respect the run. They knew they didn't have to. They were probably would have fell over and died if Andy Reid would have run the football because they were 100% sure he wasn't going to, and he fed straight into it. And I think that's something that we have to start looking at. Like, Andy really wants to open a run game with a deep passing attack. He's very backwards on that. Most people want a good, strong run game that can open up the pass and things like that, play action or what have you. Andy does not run that type of offense at all. Most of his runs come from an RPO. So, it's also, I guess, a Mahomes decision a lot on how many carries some of these running backs get. But it's just him reading defenses and figuring out what he needs to do and making that decision. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. And it'll be interesting to see if they do go out and try to get a Nick Chubb or someone like that. I like I said, I highly doubt it. I don't see it happening. I think the Chiefs are okay with what they have. And I think if they really wanted to focus on that running back room, they had plenty of opportunities in the draft. I think it was Lone Wolf that said that earlier. There was a lot of guys they passed on that they did, they could have snatched up if they really thought it was a thing. Justin Blackwell says that Chubb would come in and get injured again. Highly likely that he would. It's just been that way for him the last couple of years. Now, that's the thing. If he could escape the injury bug, if he could be healthy, I absolutely think that Nick Chubb has stuff left in the tank. He's put in, let's go back to his stats. I still have those pulled up somewhere. he's drafted rookie season 2018. So he's played, what, 7 seasons? 2 of the seasons he essentially did not play. He was hurt the entire time. So if you put in a full workload, he had 5 seasons in NFL, and every one of them he hit that 1,000-yard mark. Just, I think there's something left in the tank for sure. It's all about the injury, and it's about that risk that you take and how much money you pay the man. And, at $3 million, do you want to risk basically throwing $3 million in the trash? Because, I mean, by all means, if he comes in and gets injured, he's out for the season, then that's what you did. So, because I imagine his contract would be something to the tune of that. Maybe they could get a little bit less. They're going to have to give him some guaranteed money. So I don't know. And obviously the Chiefs wouldn't be the only team interested. I think someone will pick up Nick Chubb and give him a shot. We'll see that sooner than later, probably. I've just noted the Heat started to pick up on that, on the whole Nick Chubb thing. So P. Swizzle says, our running back's pretty solid now. Pacheco needs to bounce back, or he might be on his way out. Not that I want that. Absolutely. So, in my opinion, P. Swizzle, I don't know if Pacheco can do enough in his contract year for the Chiefs to sign him long term, or extend him, or bring him back. I don't know, because you got him as a 7th round draft pick, so you got him on the cheap. He's been okay. He's been good. Nothing crazy. And the way we use running backs, I just don't. If he has a crazy season this year, say he has the best season of his career this season, I still don't know if the Chiefs are going to invest in that. He might go somewhere else and get some money, but I just don't know if it'll be from Kansas City. So I think either way, it's a contract year, and it's a huge year for Isaiah Pacheco. I think he really needs to produce and, get his stock up on signing a contract, whether it's with Kansas City or somebody else. So this very important year for him. And Brent says he don't think that Pacheco's done anything to show he's not replaceable. I agree with that. I think the only thing that maybe you can't replace with Pacheco is just the sheer energy and what he brings to the team as far as that goes. But I mean, as far as talent and things like that, then absolutely. As much as I love the guy, you can't replace the personality, but you can replace the game. So I agree with you on that one. Got a 5 bomb from our boy Bryant here. It says, hear ye, hear ye. Good to see you, Steve, and hello, ACU fam. Good to see you, Bryant. Appreciate the 5, my man. Appreciate you guys that have donated today. You guys are freaking awesome. Like I said, Mike's been literally just knee deep fixing his house. The last week, it's probably been about a week and a half now. You've noticed our content's kind of went down a little bit. I've been trying to put out a little bit here and there when I can, but Mike's our full-time guy. I'm the part-time guy. I still work a job, have the family and everything. So I was trying to get some stuff out there, but, did what I could. Mike will be back at it hopefully the next day or two. He's getting his stuff done, gets his room set back up with the whole setup, and we can get back to work, man. But missing a whole almost 2 weeks of income, basically, it's going to be a tough one. So we'll see how that goes. But appreciate you guys for the donos. You guys are awesome. Peace Fizzle, yeah, his house, I think he ended up with like 4 feet of water in it, something like that. But I'm pretty sure he had to rip out all the floors, all the drywall, replace all that stuff. So, I mean, he's been pretty busy. I think he had to reframe a couple things, just wear and tear over the years and other floods and things like that. I think, it's just been a big job for him. And he's not exactly, Bob Vila or Bob the Builder. So, I mean, he'll be texting me late at night, just like, man, I'm freaking, wore out. My body hurts because he's been, been putting in the labor all day. So, yeah, hopefully he'll be done soon, though. He'll be done soon. Mini Ninja says, what do you think about the draft? I think it was an A+, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, Mini Ninja, I would give it a solid A. I think that the Chiefs were able to have a pretty killer draft, in my opinion. Being able to get Josh Simmons at pick 32 by trading back, gaining a 5th-round pick. I thought that was a ridiculous move by Brett Veach. The fact that he was able to do that is amazing. So not only, I'm pretty sure if Josh Simmons is there, they're taking him regardless. That was their guy if he was still available. I was surprised he was still available. I thought he would go 18 to the Seattle Seahawks at latest in that draft. I really did. But he was still there. They were able to get in touch with Philly. Philly was afraid they were going to lose their guy because the Chiefs were trying to trade out. And basically it was a Brett Veach saying, hey, you take an offense or defense? They said defense. He said deal. Got the 5th-round pick. Still got their guy. I think that there's an opportunity that Josh Simmons could start this season if he's healthy enough. I don't know. They're saying that he should be back by camp and ready to go and compete for that position. So there's a possibility, and he also has the possibility of being the Chiefs' long-term answer at left tackle. And if you got that and gained a 5th-round pick, I think that's killer. And then, of course, the rest of their picks were just phenomenal. Really excited at how that all went. So, I mean, I'm really excited about a couple of the defenders, a few of them actually, with Gelati, Noah Williams, and Omar Norman Lott. I think those are going to be fun guys to watch. I mean, Norman Lott's going to bring a lot to the pass rush. I think him and Chris Jones together is going to be pretty fun. I think it's going to be a headache for defenses. And then Gelati, I think he's a relentless guy coming off the edge. Has like the motor of like a George Karlaftis, but he's a lot more athletically gifted than a George Karlaftis. So super excited to see what Gelati can do. And then Noah Williams, of course, he brings something to the defensive back room that we don't necessarily have right now, and that's an absolute ball hawk. A lot of people want to knock his athleticism because his RAS score was only like 7 point something. And, I mean, honestly, I see nothing wrong with his athleticism. He looks good, looks fast, a very smart football player, has a nose for the football, reminds me a lot of like a young Marcus Peters or something like that, where he's always in the mix and can create turnovers. And then, of course, grabbing, I think Bossa is a very underrated pick. Wasn't sure about that at first. Did a little bit of film study on Bossa, but with all the floods and everything, me and Mike didn't get to finish a lot of our grades on those. So we didn't really dig that far into linebackers, but actually after I got to, after the draft, I got to dig into him a little bit more, and I think that's a great pick for them as well. He's a converted safety to a linebacker, so he's a good coverage linebacker, just a good athlete, a good head on his shoulders. He was the green dot for Oregon, so smart football player. I think he's going to be a fun one to watch and see how he progresses, because he's going to be mainly special teams at first, but I definitely could see Bossa earning a starting position on that defense in the first couple of years. So that's going to be cool to see. And then, of course, Brashard Smith in the final round was a great pick as well. So great value on Brashard Smith. A lot of people thought he could go earlier than that. I think I have to give it a solid A. So that's where I'm sticking with. Hopefully I'm right. Hopefully it was a good draft. And you never really know how good your draft is until, after the first couple of years. You can look back on a couple drafts where we thought they might be okay, or, hey, they got some good picks. This is great. They killed it. And then 2 years later, it's like, man, that draft kind of stunk. Like, there's no one that really produced out of that draft. So it's hard to judge it early, but hopes are high. Let's see. What else you guys got going on here? See what you guys are up to. Warpaint says that hoodie is sweet. Is that your merch? It's not our merch, no. This is a hoodie Pops got me. I don't know where he got it, but it is pretty sweet. We do have merch though. Merch.allchiefedup.com. Take you to our store. You can check it out. Want to revamp the store. Probably come up with a couple different designs, trim it down a little bit, and get a sale going on there. Get you guys a discount and see if we can get that store revamped a little bit. But if you want to check out our merch, you can go to merch.allchiefedup.com. There is some cool stuff over there, so you can check that out. Let's see here. P Swizzle says, you concerned about our safety play this year with Reid gone? I'm not concerned, but I do think that's a bigger loss than people are kind of projecting, because I think that Reid was one of the biggest leaders on our defense, veteran, super smart kid. Played really well in the stretch last year. I thought in the playoffs he was fantastic. And I think it's a bigger loss than people think. But we've all seen what Jaden Hicks can do, and it's going to be exciting to see him on the field more. Brian Cook, I think, is the one that, kind of scares people a little bit. Him coming back off that injury from a couple years ago. He was a little slow coming back from the injury, and I think people are a little concerned about Cook not panning out, but we'll see this year. But the safety room as a whole, it definitely went down a notch without Reid, but I still think they have some good players there, and a lot of talent with Jaden Hicks. That kid's awesome. He reminds me of Tyrann Mathieu at times, just the way he's always around the football. And then you have to remember they went and got Mike Edwards back, who we had a couple of years ago. He won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, and he's that type of guy too. He's like a Jaden Hicks, Tyrann Mathieu type guy that's always around the football and always in the right place. And he's got some years under his belt, so he's got the experience. He's a veteran, and he's a University of Kentucky guy, so gotta love him. Gotta love him. But yeah, I think Brian, I think you're right. I think the roster is set pretty well. Just staying healthy is a key. I think last year was a tough year for Kansas City. It might not seem that way because they only lost two games going into the playoffs, and but I mean it was a tough year for the Chiefs. I mean, it was injury riddled. There was a lot of injuries, a lot of change in course for the Chiefs and adjusting, and even picking up guys mid-season with DeAndre Hopkins and Kareem Hunt, and just having to plug and play these type of guys. And I think they had a whole different idea how that offense was going to be with Hollywood Brown last year. Then, of course, he got hurt on his first play ever, which is pretty wild. And I don't know. I just think this year could be different. If they can stay healthy, I think it could be a lot different. And I think last year, like I said, although, they go 15-2, get to the Super Bowl, I still think it was a tough year for the Chiefs. I think any other team that had to deal with that many injuries and deal with not being able to keep a solid left tackle over there, I mean, I think anybody else probably missed the playoffs. But the Chiefs were 15-2 and got to the Super Bowl. Granted, they didn't go to the Super Bowl, but it is what it is. It's hard to be mad at being at 3 straight Super Bowls. I mean, it's disappointing to not win the third one, but it's hard to be mad at that. I mean, because that's just freaking phenomenal. And I think they have a good chance of going to a 4th straight one this year, which is insane to think about. So, yeah, Peace Swizzle. It was torture last year. I do think last year was a success, other than losing the Super Bowl. Obviously, you don't get the ultimate goal, and it seems like with Patrick Mahomes on your team and in the midst of a dynasty, anything except winning the Super Bowl is kind of a disappointment, right? So it's just high expectations. It just is what it is. I mean, like I said, you're in the middle of a dynasty. You got the best quarterback to ever play football. You got one of the best coaches to ever coach a football. The bar is set high. So, honestly, though, here's my thing. With the Chiefs, with all the injuries, Chiefs with the left tackle troubles, things like that, I still think that they played their worst game. Mahomes played the worst game he's ever played in his life, probably. I think Andy Reid's game plan was one of the worst game plans he's ever had. And the Eagles were the complete opposite. I mean, everything was going their way. They'd put together a super team. I mean, by all means, they were a Pro Bowl team. So, I mean, they had that going for them. Everything went their way. And the Chiefs played terribly, terrible game plan, no execution. And literally everything bounced their way. So, I mean, it was just their day. It's all it was. But the thing about it is, I feel like if you played that game in like a freaking series of 7, like an NBA playoff type deal, the Chiefs probably win that, probably in 6, to be quite honest about it. The Chiefs, to me, overall, better team, better quarterback, better coach. It just so happened that, you know, a lot of different factors played into that. The Chiefs played the worst game they've ever played, and they didn't show up, and they had injuries throughout the season. They were wore down. They've been to 3 straight Super Bowls. They've played a lot of football. I mean, it literally, like, it's hard for me to give, like, I give Philly credit. They're an excellent team. They beat the hell out of the Commanders. They turn out beat the hell out of the Chiefs. So it's hard not to give them their kudos, but you got to take your hats off to them. But at the same time, it's also, I think it's very stupid for people to kind of ignore the fact that the Chiefs weren't themselves that game. Like, they didn't show up. They had a very bad day. Everything went the Eagles' way. So I think if people want to be fair about it, that was an outlier. That was definitely an outlier. The Chiefs don't get blown out. They just don't. And they did. So it's for people to think that that's just because the Eagles were so much better is silly. I think we all know what happened there. But, yeah. Appreciate you guys. Do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't already. I'll be here for a few more minutes. I'll try to hit that hour mark. So if you guys have any questions, get them in the chat. Once again, just want to say thanks for everybody for being here. We'll get back at it, be more consistent, get back to what we normally do this week. Hopefully, Mike will be done in the next day or two with his house and can get settled in and quit living in a van down by the river, and we can get back to it. So appreciate you guys hanging with us through this week. It's been a slow week anyway. To be quite honest about it, couldn't have been a better 2 weeks for this to have happened because there's literally not been a whole lot to talk about anyway. So, I mean, timing works out okay, and we'll get back at it, and we'll be back full strength here in the next couple of days or so. So it'll be fun. But yeah, just to kind of rehash, if you came in late or whatever, you can always go back and watch the beginning, but kind of just talked about the Chiefs running back room, what we thought about the Chiefs running back room, what we think about maybe adding to the running back room. A lot of people's been talking about Nick Chubb. Is that a guy you could take a shot on, pay him a couple $1 million for a year and see if you can keep him healthy? So that's kind of what we discussed. So if you'd like to go back and watch that, by all means do so. Also, like I said, I put out a lot of shorts last week. Pretty much just about different players that we got in the draft and maybe a couple of UDFAs. If you haven't got to watch those, I would suggest you guys go watch those, learn a little bit about those people, and let me know what you think about that. But, yeah, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome to be back at it. Hopefully we got more football news pouring in soon. It's almost time for OTAs, camp, all that good stuff. So that'll be fun. It's always fun to cover that kind of stuff and kind of see how the roster shapes up and, who's showing out and who's not. I mean, so far, I think at the rookie mini camp, the highlights of that were probably Brashard Smith and Jake Brenningstool, the tight end, UDFA from Clemson. He's an intriguing one. If you don't know a lot about him, you can go check him out. I had Jake Brenningstool in my top 10 tight ends. I think I had him at 9 on mine. And then, of course, Mike had a top 10. We collaborated, and he kind of fell to the wayside. He came out of the 10. But I had him, I think, at number 9 on mine. Like, he's 6'6", super fast. Like, he's basically a big receiver, right? He's a lot of Travis Kelce in the kid. But he's not a blocker. He's got a lot to work on with that kind of stuff. And, there's a reason why he's a UDFA. But at the same time, he's one of those UDFAs that have a very high ceiling. Like, you could maybe hit a home run with him. And apparently there were like 4 teams after the kid, and Andy Reid made a personal call to him. And that's how he ended up with the Chiefs. So apparently he had a pretty good little rookie mini camp there and impressed some people. And then, of course, Brashard Smith kind of showed off how good he can be as a pass-catching running back. So I think it's going to be fun to see how this roster shapes up. Who makes the team, who don't, all that good stuff. But anyway, appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to get out of here. And like I said, Mike will be back the next day or two. We'll get some videos out. We'll do more live streams. We'll have some members only live streams. Get back at it. Got a lot of work to do in the last couple weeks of this month here. So you'll be seeing a lot of us, and appreciate you guys for watching and liking and all that good stuff. Share it with your friends. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that. Trying to get to 50,000 subscribers. Thought we were going to get there around the Super Bowl this last year, but things took a nosedive. It's been pretty slow, so hopefully we can kick that back into gear. So do that. Share the channel with your friends, family, people on your social media, whatever you can do to help out. We'd appreciate that. And shout out to you guys that donated today. You guys are freaking awesome. And we'll get back at it soon. We'll see you next time.
Wow.